Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Kala, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over the Shadow Priest leveling talent guide, all the way up until 60. Shadow Priest is a little different because it requires a respec at 40. You know, not every class does require a respec. Some do, but in the Shadow Priest's case in particular, that's definitely something you want to be doing at the level 40 mark. So I'm going to be going over all of that, and if you guys missed my previous video talking about the 1 to 10, as well as some of the 10 to 20 talents that you want to be choosing, please check that one out in the description. And before I get started, I just wanted to thank every single person who's been supporting me on my Twitch channel. The only reason I'm doing these videos is because everybody is asking for them, and I'm just getting so much support over there. So I seriously cannot thank you guys enough. Really appreciate it. But moving forward, talking about the talent choices that you want to be running, I am going to show you this build real fast. So I know it looks a little weird because you're not going deep shadow, but I'm going to tell you why this is the better choice for talents. I will have these also in the description, so don't worry about that. So I am going to reset and go over my justification. So as soon as you hit level 10, I personally put 1 point into Spirit Tap, and then I alternate with Wand Specialization. The reason I do this is because I don't find the necessity for a Spirit Tap to be that huge right in the very beginning portions of leveling with talents. Because Spirit Tap doubles your Spirit, and you don't really have a lot of Spirit gear at the beginning, it doesn't do as much as it does once you have Spirit on your gear. So I kind of alternate between the two. And once I'm capped out, you're sitting at level 19, and that's when you start going deeper into the Shadow Tree. So after that, I go 2 points into Shadow Word Pain, 3 into Shadow Focus, 1 into Mind Flay, 2 into Psychic Scream, and then at that point, I put 2 more into Shadow Focus to unlock the next tier. After that, I go 5 into Shadow Weaving, 1 into Vampiric Embrace, 1 into Silence, just because I personally play on a PvP server, and every single situation that I can win in a PvP encounter is going to be better than me dying and walking back to my body. So these two actually end up saving me a lot of time when it comes to leveling. However, after this, at the level 36 mark, I just throw these points into Power Word Shield, because the 246% that you get from Darkness, I think, is not as good as the 15% on Power Word Shield as far as leveling is concerned, because your Mind Flay really isn't starting to scale as hard as it does post 40. So this is the build that I run pre-Shadow form. And then after that, once you hit level 40, you got to go back to a trainer and respec, because this is the 1 to 40 basically section of this guide. All right. So once you've hit level 40 and you go back and you respec, this is how I enter the Shadow Tree. So just go 5 into Spirit Tap, 3 into Blackout, 2 into Improve Shadow Word Pain, 5 into Shadow Focus, 1 into Mind Flay, 2 into Psychic Scream, 5 into Shadow Weaving, 1 into Silence, 1 into VE, 5 into Darkness, and 1 into Shadow Form. Once you're done that, you're pretty much good to go as far as Shadow is concerned. I'm going to unlock this and just show you kind of how I navigate this tree as well once you're ready to go. But so this unlocks your Shadow form. You now have the passive 25% damage increase for Shadow. You've got Shadow Weaving. You're pretty much set as far as Shadow is concerned for PvE purposes or soloing. After that, I drop 5 into Wand Spec again, because wands are still valuable. You're still going to be using them despite Mind Flay starting to scale up a little bit more now. You have access to more damage gear. You have passive damage on Shadow spells. Mind Flay becomes more and more efficient. Well, it already is more efficient than Mind Blast, but it gains more value as a spell as time goes on and as you level up. After this, I throw 3 into Shield, 2 into Fort, and then I go 1 in Inner Focus, and drop 3 over here. After that, you have 1 more point to unlock the next tier, so just throw 1 into Unbreakable Will, and then I personally go Inner Fire first, and then the last 2 points into Mental Agility, and there you have all the way up until level 60 for the Shadow Priest. This gives you a really strong soloing build, and as well as gives you access to, in my opinion, all of the very useful talent choices within Shadow. You can heal dungeons all the way up to level 60, and arguably even at level 60 with this build. Obviously, you're not going to sit in Shadow form when you do so. You're going to have no problems acting as the healer on your way up if you're going to jump into dungeons. I personally won't be going into dungeons just because of the efficiency of going into dungeons. Unless you have just a really banger group right out of the gates, it's just not worth it in my opinion. But these are the talents that I will be running all the way up until level 60, and they're fantastic fantastic. It gives you everything you need, and yeah, there's no reason to really be running anything else in my opinion. Some people argue that Discipline is better up until level 40, and it's just, I don't see it. I've talked to so many other priests as well that have private server experience, and they're kind of with me on this boat. It's not to say that you can't level as Disc, because you certainly can. It's just, this is about the Shadow Priest, and we're going to level as Shadow. On top of that, I kind of wanted to go over a couple of other things just to help you guys out as far as leveling is concerned. So, one is your stat prioritization. Obviously, we want to take as much value into Spirit Tap as possible. Therefore, as the priest, you want to have Spirit is your number one concern for gearing. So it's going to be spell power over Spirit over MP5. Spirit is kind of equal to or greater than MP5 just because of the way that Spirit Tap interacts with your Spirit, which is greater than Intellect, which is greater than Spell Hit, which is greater than Spell Crit, which is greater than Stamina. So that's kind of basically how you want to think about how you're going to grab your stats on gear. And the reason why Spirit is better than raw MP5 for leveling is just because of Spirit Tap. Spirit Tap doubles your Spirit, not your MP5. And the ratio that you want to pay attention to is 1 Spirit equals 0.625 MP5 while not casting, and 1.25 while not casting if Spirit Tap is active. So Spirit is definitely the go-to for your stats, only succeeded by spell damage, but that isn't really available until the later portions of the game. Start finding that gear post level 30, post level 40, that sort of stuff. It becomes a lot easier to find. So I also wanted to include my AoE grinding spec in here as well, because I personally AoE grinded with a mage partner, Venruki, from level 21 to level 30. So I was just going to include that in here as well. You can start at level 20 for AoE grinding. I think I personally started, as I said, level 21, but basically this is how I opened up my build. The most important part, of course, is Holy Nova. Personally, I like having no downtime and not having to drink, even though the mage does as well. I found that myself being full on mana out of these pulls was actually really, really beneficial, and it eliminated a lot of the learning curve for AoE grinding. So if you and your mage partner are pretty new to it, I would suggest going into Spirit Tap. Otherwise, just go into Wand Spec and start going down the Discipline tree. You can throw 5 into Wand Spec, 2 here, 3 here, but I would do this first because Power Word Shield is just way more important than Fortitude, especially when it comes to AoE grinding. You want the shield as strong as possible. I'd throw 1 into Martyrdom just to get to the next tier. Improved Inner Fire would be very good, but I personally think it's stronger than having instant cast, just because you actually do end up tanking a lot and taking a lot of damage from mobs while you're AoE grinding. So I'd definitely go into Inner Fire first and foremost. Divine Spirit, of course. You can throw 4 into here, or 5, sorry, 4 into here. And you can go PI. At this point, you're level 51. I don't think at that point you would need Spirit Tap. You can start going down Holy. It doesn't really matter what you do. The whole point is that you have Holy Nova and that you're helping your mage with the grinding. It's more about the technique than anything else. So Holy Nova, the most important part. Everything else really doesn't matter aside from Power Word Shield, because there's going to be nothing that holds you back once you have this available. Because wands are probably the most important thing about Shadow Priest leveling, I've also included a Google Docs link in the description that has a list of a whole bunch of wands with links to their classic DB. I'm not sure who made it, so props to whoever this was. I was just able to Google it and find it, so make sure you guys check it out in the description as well, because it just gives so much information on wands. It's basically everything you could ever want to know. And last but not least, you guys, make sure that you are paying a lot of attention to staying in that 5-second rule. Again, I keep saying always make sure you're front loading damage in fights. So cast, like hard cast in the beginning, use your Shadow Word Pain off your Mind Blast, Mind Flay if that's what you're going to be using. If you're going to drop a shield, do it at this point or even beforehand, but just make sure all of your casts are happening in the same group so that your MP5 can start kicking in mid-fight, so you're staying as efficient as possible. It's so important to stay within that 5-second rule while you're leveling. People will argue a lot about Mind Flay and its efficiency. Honestly, if you are running out of mana, that's the only problem. Play with your Mind Flay, because it's not actually an inefficient spell. It's more efficient than Mind Blast is, and that's just common knowledge. It has less DPS than Mind Blast, of course, but it is an efficient spell, and it gets more and more efficient as time goes by, especially after Mind Flay. So like right now, even without Spirit Tap, I'm able to, you know, Mind Blast, Shadow Word Pain, drop a Mind Flay, maybe even a second one, and then start channeling my wand. And at this point, like, look at my mana. With Spirit Tap active, and I kill this, and I go on to the next mob, I'm going to be perfectly fine as far as mana is concerned. I will never run out of mana if I had Spirit Tap at this point. Obviously, I'm not Spirit Tap because I'm a PvP build, but you get the point. Just kind of play with what you're able to use as far as efficiency is concerned. You don't want to run out of mana, but you also don't want to be sitting at full mana just wanding and Shadow Word Painting things to death. So it's a little bit of a give and take when it comes to which spells you're going to use. I hope this guide was really helpful for you guys. If you have any other questions, I'm answering questions 24/7 at twitch.tv/Kala. And if you have any other suggestions for videos that you want, I'm going to be making a ton of them with my beta access and the entire time up until classic releases. I will also be the core Shadow Priest in this guild, so we've got a lot to talk about over here. So you just let me know. And thank you guys so much for all the support. Take care.